No matter which vector-based program you choose to use, you will find there is a Align and Distribute menu within that program, and Inkscape is no different. Hello my friends, Rob here from Button Press Graphics, and today I'm going to be showing you the principles behind the Align and Distribute menu that you can find in Inkscape. So without further ado, let's get started. Now before you start, you are going to need the Align and Distribute menu open. So in order to do this, come to the top toolbar and select this button right here. Once you click it, you will get the menu on the side here. Now today I'm going to be showing you 10 of the top icons, and I'm going to be showing you the Distribute menu. But before we get there, I need to explain the principles behind how Inkscape will align your objects. If you take a look on screen, you can see 3 different shapes. Now I've gone to the liberty of adding some little red shapes within them so you can see exactly where the points are that the program is going to align to. So let's take the square for example. When it comes to aligning the square with any other shape or object, you are going to be using one of the 4 points that you can see on each side. The left, the right, the top and the bottom. Or you can align using the center point, which is right there. And this will happen for any other shape too. If you take the circle, you have the center point, and then you have the left, right, top and bottom. But even when you're using more complex shapes like this one for example, just like the other shapes, it is going to use the topmost part, the bottommost part, the leftmost or the rightmost part of each object. So how do you align them? Well, that is very simple. You simply select what you would like to align it to. Now this is where the relative to drop down box will come in handy. Personally, I tend to use last selected and page more often than not. But it is up to you which you use. If we select the drop down, you will see we have the last selected. That means it will always align to the last thing that you select. The first selected, which means it will always align to the first thing that you selected. You can align to the biggest object out of all the shapes that you have selected. You can align to the smallest of objects. You can align to the page, which is the white canvas that you are actually creating on. You can align to the drawing itself, or you can align to a predetermined selection area. For this, I'm going to be showing you the last selected because that is the one that I personally think is the most accessible and the most commonly used. So for this, we're going to select last selected from the drop down. Now when it comes to the top 10 icons, that is this section here, it will go in order. So these 2 center icons, if you select them, it will always center up on the horizontal and vertical axes. When it comes to the 2 on either side, that means it will go onto the edges. So for example, if I was to select this one here, the object will line up on this side here. And of course, if I was to select this one, where you can see the red line, that is where it's going to align. So it will align an object here at the top. And then of course you get the general idea now. This one will go to the right and this one will go to the bottom. So what I will show you is I'm going to create just a random little circle. And let's fill that in so you can see it a lot better. Now this is the circle I'm going to align with the rest, just to show you exactly what I mean. Now say you wanted this black circle to be in the top corner of this square. Well, with that selected, we can then come to the square and select that. Now the square is the last selected thing that I have just selected. So with the last selected chosen from the drop down, it will align the circle with the square. Now how to get that circle to the corner so it is perfectly aligned? Well, there is a simple way that you can do this by using these buttons. Now I want you to watch what happens to the circle as I press these buttons. So first we want it to be aligned to the right side and the top side, and that will put it in the corner. So in order to go to the right side, we are going to select this button here, which says align the right edges. And as you can see, it is now perfectly lined up. And if we zoom right in, you can see if I change the color of this, that it is perfectly aligned. If you try and eyeball this and you try and do it by just simply moving it, you'll have to zoom right in to get it perfect. But even then, it might be a little bit difficult. As you can see, there is still that very thin black line. Now, when I zoom out, it looks like it is absolutely perfect, but we know it's not. By selecting that button, it will line up perfectly. So now we have got this aligned to where we want it, we need to align it to the top edge as well. So we're going to select the square we want to align the shape to, and then we are going to select this one here that says align top edges. And there you go. You now have the shape that you wanted to align to the shape you wanted to align it to. See? It's not as complicated as you may first think. Now let me just randomly put it somewhere else so it is not aligned in any way. And then we are going to select the box again. Now, if we wanted to get it dead center at the top, you can simply center it up on the vertical axis and then move it to the top edge. So we will come across to the icons again. We are going to center it onto the vertical axis like this. And now if we move it up to the top using the button we have just used previously, we have now got it in the center. And this is always going to use the top two edges. So when it comes to this circle, it is going to use that top edge along with the box's top edge. So both the circle and this square are going to line both of their top edges together. If we go to the right, it will line both right edges. But what if you want the circle to be sat on top of the box? For example, if you wanted the circle to be dead center above the box like this. Well, again, you can do exactly that, but this time we are going to use the outermost icons, these four here. Now again, with both of them selected and the square being the last thing that I've selected, now if I come to these icons, I can show you exactly what I mean. By selecting this button like I just did, as you saw, the circle is now sat on top. The yellow squares on these icons represent what you are aligning to. So because we have last selected from the drop down, that means the square is the last thing we selected, and that is what we are aligning to. So all other objects are going to follow suit. Any objects that you select with this button are going to align on the top. However, if we want to align to the right, we can do that too. And then if we want to make sure that it's central, we can come back to the aligning on horizontal axes, and there you go. We have now aligned it perfectly. As you may guess, this would work with any other object that you would like to align it to. So if you would like to align this with a circle, then you can do exactly that. You can in fact align it to anywhere that you want, and it's very, very easy to chop and change around where you would like these shapes to be aligned to. But what if you want to align a group of objects without moving them individually? Well, I'm going to show you a problem that you might encounter. As you can see, I have 4 green circles right here, and all of them are separate from each other. If I was to select them all and then select the square by holding Shift, I can move these and align them with the square. But if I was to do that, what you would find is something that happened like this. Now you may think that all 4 circles have just turned into 2 circles. Well, you wouldn't be right. As you can see, they are all still there, but unfortunately they are aligned incorrectly. So if you would like to align, say, these shapes to the center so they look exactly like they are, but they're in the center of the square, you can do so simply by highlighting them all and then grouping them together with this button up at the top toolbar that says Group. Now they're all grouped as one shape. You can now align it with the square by holding Shift, selecting the square, and with it being the last selected, we can now align it exactly as we want. Once you have got it where you want it, you can then deselect everything and select the green circles again, and then ungroup. And now you have all 4 shapes separate again, but at the same time all completely aligned to where you want them. And now for the fundamentals of the distribute section. The distribute section will use the anchor points that I went over earlier, and it will use them to distribute all of the objects that you've got selected evenly. What I mean by that is, if you come and look at the icons, you will see that there are red lines and columns. The red lines are going to show you where each one of these buttons will align to. So if you look on this icon here, that means it will use the left anchor points on each of the objects, and it will align to them. Then the center ones here will align to the center. The right will align to the right. And this one is one I use quite often too, because it will align all of your object with even gaps in between. So the reason that I have made 2 of these circles a different shade of blue is so I can show you exactly what I mean. Now I'm going to take this dark blue circle and I'm going to put it near the top. I want this to signify the topmost object. And then I'm going to do the same, but in reverse for the bottom. So now as a visual aid, you have got dark blue as the top and the bottom of all the shapes. Now if I was to select over all of them, we can keep the positions exactly as they are, but say we want all of these to be equally spaced out. Well, you can do exactly that with them all selected. If we come across to this button right here, this is going to equally space out every single object so they are an equal distance apart going from top to bottom. Just like that. So what Inkscape has done, it has used the top shape and the bottom shape as the anchor points of where to start from and where to end. Now when it comes to this one here, you may have thought that this is going to be the shape that it uses as the top, and you would expect it to draw a line from this shape to this shape. So it went from that to that. But instead, when I pressed it, it went to this. That is because when I pressed this button, it isn't using the vertical axes anymore, it is using the horizontal axes. By which I mean it used this shape and this shape instead of the top two. So the reason for this is because this shape here is the leftmost shape and this shape is the rightmost shape. So as you can tell, if you're using this button here, it is going to evenly space all the objects in between the leftmost objects that you've selected and the right. But if you come one row down, it is going to use the top and the bottom instead. So now with all of these shapes selected, let's say we want them in a completely straight line. So as you can imagine, using the align section and the distribute section together, you can now make things more uniform. And now when you look at this, it is exactly as you would expect, completely straight and evenly spaced out in between all of the shapes. So that, my friends, is how you use the align and distribute menu within Inkscape. If you found this tutorial helpful, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to read all of your suggestions and feedback. And of course, if you are new to the channel and would like more content just like this, then by all means hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you will not miss another video. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to bid you all a fond farewell, and I will see you in the next one.